I believe that civility and civic discourse shouldn't need justification. Being kind and open-minded and having the maturity to listen should just be a given. But we live in a time where, not to be too cliche, the political divide is greater than ever. And even if no politician ever hears this speech, what I say here must be said. At times, it can be incredibly difficult to be kind, especially when talking about politics. Our division in the United States is not unique, but it is impressive, not in a good way, but in a heartbreaking way. It seems that we cannot talk about anything without getting upset. Everything is partisan, everything is a plot, and no one is willing to compromise, ever. Not for a pandemic, not for the Postal Service, and not even for our own presidential election. Mudslinging is especially in vogue right now. Some of our leaders would prefer to tweet at their problems and call their peers names. Some of our leaders would prefer to align themselves with news sources that hold extreme views and incite conspiracies. Now, I am thinking of one person in particular, but depending on the side of the aisle on which you sit, you could be thinking of anyone. That's because we've all devolved into petty childishness. All of us, even those of us who hold our heads high and think we're above it all. Civil discourse doesn't seem to exist anymore because we're all so emotionally invested in being right, in winning arguments, winning favor, winning seats, winning the presidency. We have forgotten the value of civility because we have lost interest in the benefits of civility, especially when it comes to speaking with people with whom we disagree. This is self-sabotage on the parts of both parties, though, because the entire point of these conversations shouldn't be winning. Courtesy and politeness, the definition of civility, do not lend themselves to the knockdown, drag-out political fights that we see on Twitter and on the news. A person will never grow or change for the better if they never give the people they disagree with any room to breathe. Civility in discourse is what allows people to learn. If a person has the self-control to be kind, they have the self-control to listen. And if they just listen, they might find something in common between their views and the views of their opponent. Everyone grows when everyone listens. That's why they teach you in high school that a proper argumentative essay will not only advance your own point, but acknowledge points made by the opposition. Proper argumentation is impossible without a deep understanding of both sides of the issue, and a person who is not civil when having civic conversations will never have that deep understanding. The greatest proof of this I've ever found was during my 10th grade English class. It was in that class that I had my first experience with formal debate. Though we debated books and not politics, the lessons I learned there apply cleanly to civic discussions. Engaging in civil discourse could be very difficult in that class at times because it seemed no one really understood the position they were backing. They formed their opinions based on emotion and then floundered trying to find evidence in the books. That anxiety made them mean. We all learned very quickly, though, during an especially rowdy Huck Finn debate, that anger and force serve no purpose in debate. Civility, on the other hand, only helps. Civility allows both sides of a discussion to confront just how well they understand what they believe, and just how deeply they believe it. In the end, you might be wrong, and civility allows you to see that more easily. If a person is so tied up in their emotions regarding a topic that they feel the need to be mean during a civic discussion, they will never be able to accept that maybe they aren't right. I won most of the debates we held in that class, and I think I did because I kept my head on straight. Debate is about advancing claims and proving them, as well as disproving the claims made by your opponent. Nowhere in the rules does it say to yell at your opponent. For some, debate is about winning, but I think debate should be about learning. If we extrapolate that sentiment out to civic discussions, we see that if these discussions are about learning, then that means civic discussions become less about who is right and which party gets to claim victory, and more about how both sides can make their points known and meet in the middle through compromise. A civic conversation is nothing more than a fight without civility. I'm reminded of the cabinet battles in the musical Hamilton, where Jefferson and Hamilton's debates turn from mostly polite to threats of bodily harm in no time at all. This is how modern political discussions often go. Things might start out all right, but it goes downhill fast. Asking a politician a difficult question is like asking a time bomb not to explode. This seemingly inevitable fight makes one wonder how things get done in our government. Well, as it is, few things get done. With Congress split evenly down the middle, with neither side willing to discuss anything or compromise on any point, we never advance. The lack of civility with threats and tweeting and deal-making doesn't help in the slightest. Civility is the key to compromise, since being civil requires the maturity to listen. When there is compromise, there is progress. Beating down someone you disagree with might scare them off in the moment, but no one benefits. No one has learned anything. A civic conversation without civility is useless.